meeting. Today is our reorganization meeting, the first meeting after the election. So it's my job to call for nominations for a chair. But before we do that, we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you guys were logged in Board Docs earlier, you might want to re-log in now because I actually have it opened.
Oh, okay.
I just logged
I
in.
think I'm
Just
good.
logged in, so I should be good.
I mean, it looks like I'm
As
good.
long as you're able to log into the meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
I think so. Looks like a meeting.
Well, yeah.
That's what you think.
I don't know, maybe I should go back in because I think I was already in.
Refresh.
All right, well, while you are all refreshing your screens, I will accept nominations for the position of chair.
I nominate Christina Kaiser.
I second.
That was very
This feels
speedy.
very pressured.
Yay! Do I look excited?
Christina, do you accept that nomination?
Yes.
Okay, are there any other nominations?
Negative.
Okay, seeing no other nominations, I will close nomination. Do we have a motion?
We have a motion from Patrick and I.
Oh, sorry, that is the
Second by
motion.
Kelly.
Sorry, I took them as nominations, but you're correct, there's only one, so that is the motion. Okay, so we have a motion, is there any discussion?
Nope, I think you're gonna do fabulous.
You could take the sign too.
I'll leave that to someone
Now,
else. Yeah,
all
I just
those
like-
in favor of Christina Kaiser serving as chair?
I
Any opposed or abstaining?
Are you abstaining?
Oh,
You can
I don't know.
vote for
Can I
yourself.
vote for myself?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
I approve.
The motion carries, and this will now be your meeting.
Ooh.
There you go, girlfriend.
So next we're gonna do the appointment of the board vice chair. And can I move to nominate? Or should I let somebody
You
else?
should let
I should let somebody else. Anybody else?
I will. I'll move to nominate Patrick Knott to serve vice chair of Seabrook School Board.
I'll second.
I'll third.
I'll accept.
You seconded that?
Yes, I did.
I think everyone seconded that.
Yes.
Paying attention.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Have that vote unanimous.
So next would be the school board committee appointments. It looks like, are we operating as a 4-person board?
No,
have
but I
information?
think if people are interested in particular roles, you can make that known today, and if you prefer to wait till the next meeting when your full board is there, you can do that.
Are there any meetings that are coming up that would be, so it looks like
Policy.
operations is 4 times, that's in March, did that already happen? Okay. So let's see, policy.
Policy committee meeting before the next meeting.
So there will be a policy committee? Okay, and Patrick, are you okay with doing the policy committee meeting before the next meeting if we hold off until all 5 are here?
If Jen
If Jen
took,
is back
took
up.
most of them because I was at the firehouse for almost all of them.
How dare you be a first responder and
If she would like to take that,
I will, definitely.
Okay, so if everyone's okay with that, if we use what we have currently and then we can reassess next meeting, we can talk about if we have all 5, then we can really distribute, if that's okay? Okay,
And if you have any questions about any committees between now and then, you're all returning board members, so if you have any questions, let us know.
okay. So we would hold off on the actual motion then till next time? Okay, all right. So the next one is the student representative report. Is there a student representative?
Unfortunately, there was a conflicting event this evening that prevented our student reps.
Okay. Well, they've been great every meeting, and I love that we do it because it's a nice, fresh perspective. So now we can open up public comment. If anybody in the public would like to comment.
Hi,
Hey.
I'm Rebecca Shervon. I teach 8th grade at Seabrook Middle School. I also co-chair the drama club, and our our student representative was going to cordially invite each of you with personalized invitations to our upcoming play on Monday, April 3rd and Tuesday, April 4th. You'll be getting it.
I can
Don't worry.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So we would love for you to come and see our play. And on a separate note, we wanted to thank the board and everybody involved in putting out such positive PR regarding the CBA. So thank you so much on behalf of the teachers. We feel so supported by her. So thank you. And our administrators. So, Matt,
Awesome.
thanks. Your video was wonderful.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Hello. Colleen Sousa, art teacher. I also wanted to come up and thank everybody for going out and voting and speaking so highly of the contract. Mr. Knott, you did a great job speaking for us. Thank you. And also Matt, thanks for your lovely slideshow. It was great. Good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? No?
No.
Okay. So we will keep it open for 30 minutes. The time right now is 38. 4:37. What day is? I don't even know what day it is. It's fine. So, March 21st. Thank you.
Spring.
Spring. Sorry, I just need a water bottle.
Tell him to come in.
It's just my husband. He's just bringing a water
She needs
bottle.
water.
It's very important. Sorry. And now he's lying.
Calm down.
We'll pass it down.
I just did girls on the, yeah, you slide. Do you have an excuse for needing a beverage? Thank you.
That was super not there.
I wanted it to be clearly as embarrassing as possible. Thank you. Okay, so approval of the minutes for February 6th, 2023. Is that okay?
Sure.
Are we moving? I'm sorry. Was I moving too fast? Okay. Just tearing through. Anybody? Motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from Monday, February 6th.
A second.
Any discussion? Still learning my.
You're doing a great job. You're doing fantastic.
All in favor?
Hi.
Have that motion recorded.
All right, Meredith, it looks like you are up with the superintendent's report.
Okay, well, as you've heard, our budget and warrant articles passed here in Seabrook, which is great news. So we thank the public for turning out. It was a tough day and low turnout, but we appreciate the commitment of those voters who were able to come and cast their ballots. Our next joint board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, March 28th, so next Tuesday. We will elect a new joint board chair. This year it will be from the Northampton district. We have a session with the New Hampshire School Board Association, sort of following up and customized to questions from board members. Second read of a policy, and then we'll talk about superintendent evaluation as well, and an update on Portrait of a Learner. Legislative roundtable will be in early April. I think we're looking right now April 3rd or 10th, perhaps. Once crossover happens, so I think it's the 10th is what we're tentatively looking at. You'll be hearing later this evening about nominations for teachers and administrators. Our renewal deadline is April 15th. And then I just hit a few highlights of things happening in schools. I know your principals are going to inundate you with lots of the great things happening here in Seabrook. But I wanted to mention the Winnicott Financial Literacy Team that qualified for the state championships to be held in Concord later this month. Their Granite State Challenge team also competed against Oyster River this past week. Fortunately, they were not successful, but they competed well. And we will also be putting out information this week about the state's Bright Future Survey. They call it the 6 and 3 Bright Future Survey. They've done this for a few years, where the state collects information on from parents, staff, communities about how they feel their schools are doing. So that opportunity will be sent out to families if they choose to participate.
Great, thank you. Dave?
Sure, thank you. I'll highlight 3 things from the report this month. First is safety and security. I wanted to let you guys know that we've got a few things going on. First of all, this Thursday, We've got our task force meeting. We're actually going to be doing a reunification exercise, tabletop, but we're going to get all our districts together and go through that. Looking forward to that process, and I think it'll just it'll get us all in the practice of going through lists and making sure we know where we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to do. Second, Portrait of a Learner, Meredith mentioned, we've been doing a lot of community outreach with this, and we've done a lot of data validation, feedback validation, distilled it down to 5 different pillars, which are kind of like highlighted on the report itself. 1 is academics, strong core academics. 2, mindsets, things like creativity, curiosity, self-direction. Then 3, which was a surprise to me, but maybe not to everybody, essential life skills. Basic, the ability to run a household finances, the ability to change a tire. Those came out loud and clear in our community feedback sessions, so we put that as a pillar of our portrait, and I'm very excited to do so. Physical and mental health was the 4th one. Oddly enough, things like screen time, things like work-life balance came out over and over again with our community, so we put that in as a pillar. And last was community engagement. Civic duty, making sure that you not only engage with your local community, but also global community as well. Moving forward, we're going to kind of reverse engineer that back out into our schools and see where we're living up to these ideals and where we're not. And I'm really looking forward to the process this spring and summer and into the fall when we start working with teachers. And then last, teacher certification. Actually, I ran this report a while ago, so our numbers are up. But we're tracking, to borrow Matt's phrase, we're tracking well with educator endorsements for this spring. We're probably about 60% total as of today, so our numbers are a little low in this report.
What percentage is the SAU?
Notice the SAU is up at 100%, 7 endorsements, all done. I think you have them all, basically, right?
I have 5.
Okay. And that's it for the report, unless you have questions.
I love the graphic. I think that turned out really good.
That's my graphic. We're actually working with a professional to do.
I thought that was pretty good. I was kind of impressed by it. I do like the pillars too. I know that there had been discussion about those, and I like what you guys firmed up. So.
Maybe we could save some money if you're so talented.
Already spent.
Add. All right. Well, thanks, Steve. Student services.
Hi, everybody. I have some exciting news to share with the Seabrook community. We were invited to consider applying for, under the New Hampshire Preschool Development Grant, for a planning opportunity along with the University of New Hampshire to be considered for application in a year for full-service community schools program. So the planning grant, it was a very short turnaround, and we needed to reach out to community partners. And, both Brian and I were so really just excited and affirmed that so many of our community partners, all of them that we reached out to, said, yes, sign me up, count me in, I'm happy to help you get this ready and submitted. So we had significant support, and we submitted this competitive proposal last week. It was due by March 15th. We had a very short turnaround, as I said, and the purpose of the grant is so that we can engage in a comprehensive planning process between April and December that would get us ready to submit the larger grant initiative. The funding is intended to support New Hampshire public school districts to develop their plan and coordinate academic, social, and health services through partnerships. And there are 4 pillars of community schools that we need to focus on, and they include integrated support, expanded and enriched learning time. The 3rd one is active family and community engagement, and the 4th one is collaborative leadership and practices to support high-quality teaching. And all of that in a full-service community school is focused on children from birth to age 8. So this is an elementary school initiative, and even earlier, really taking a look at kiddos right when they start, and what does early literacy look like, and how do we offer programs that expand learning time beyond just the typical school hours, and what would that mean? So there are going to be 4 awards, and Brian and I keep checking our email because they said that the awards would be announced the week of March 20th, which was yesterday. So we're waiting any day now to hear whether or not we will receive one of the 4. There will be 4 awards made of up to $250,000 for this planning. And because it's a planning grant, we understand that the project costs will be used for personnel. There will be a coordinator who will lead this initiative and do most of the writing of this grant, for that salary, for benefits, for staff travel to go look at exemplar full-service community schools, perhaps in Rhode Island and other New England states, materials, supplies, consultants, and indirect costs. So happy to take any questions about that, or Meredith, do you want to add?
Just one addition. So the focus really, again, as Mary said, is on the birth to age range. But as we look across our community, we've seen this trend of, first of all, the number of preschools available in the community has shrunk markedly. I think there's 1 remaining preschool available for families outside of the school district's preschool. The other thing that we've seen is that kids coming into kindergarten, 70 to 75% of them over the last 2 years have not met the benchmarks for entering kindergarten. So that means they are starting school kind of behind the 8 ball. And so we are spending a lot of time and energy trying to catch them up. So the hope would be, if we're granted this award, that we'd be able to work with our community partners to infuse those supports to families and children in that preschool range.
What are the requirements to be approved for the grant?
It's based on need, and I'm really confident. We had 7 pages to prove need, and I used the smallest font we could find. Right? We were playing with margins and all kinds of spacing to get everything in there to really show need of our kiddos, and the fact that there is only just Head Start available left. There was a second licensed daycare that was available and closed in January. So, the choices that are available are really shrinking here. So it really is based on need. It's based on, how well we did with showing support from community partners. We had a work session where everyone came, including the town manager, and really just kind of lent their support to this work and what's going on. So we feel really confident that, the support was listed there. But it is competitive, and there are only 4 planning grants available.
And we will be up against some of the larger cities in New Hampshire as well. So I would say, though, we don't feel like it's wasted effort, because even if this doesn't pan out, I think it's open to conversation with some of those community partners to strengthen how we collaboratively are supporting young children and families.
So
I
when you,
think-
sorry.
I think anything that we're trying to do to get grants to bring that kind of money into the school to expand any of our programs is, I applaud all of that. And I know how much work it goes into just putting together an initial grant proposal. It's astronomical, and I thank you guys for putting that together. I think, like you said, at the end of the day, you put it in. If you get it, great. But you're having the conversations, so hopefully that'll help as well.
Absolutely. We had really good conversations about what some of this, because we had to vision, what would we do? What would our budget? We had to submit a budget. What would it look like? And what kinds of things would we want to include in this planning period that we would have? So, like, Superintendent Nato said, it's lots of good conversation went into the planning, so not wasted at all.
So, sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead.
So to clarify, this is a grant to write a grant? To then
Essentially, it's planning.
and then to
It's to
send the
do the
grant?
deep planning, to pilot some
Okay.
innovations. We
Okay.
could pilot some curriculum materials. We could go and visit exemplar programs and take away what things we might want to include in our grant to make it stronger. So it gives us the time and the expertise and the coordinator being able to hire a full-time facilitator who would chair that up and get that going, because we all have full-time jobs.
Right.
And writing a US DOE grant of this magnitude is no small lift.
Right.
It's a significant lift, because this is a competitive, now on the the stage of being the US DOE.
And then if you would get the second grant, so let's say you submit the first, then you get the second, does that then lead to a possibility of a full-time preschool program?
So lots of things would be on the table there,
Okay.
right? Anything that we would include in that proposal when we submit would be there. So whatever we think is most appropriate for additional seats, expanded learning time, weekends. It's also for families. So it's not just what we're going to do with the children. It's what are we going to do with the families in terms of education and opening up more ESL classes and GED classes and lots of things that we could do for families. Opening up more camps for the summer. What else could we do? What can we do on the weekends? So it's really kind of thinking outside the box in a lot of areas. Health services. You know, maybe there's an additional nursing services or LPN that we can assign to home visits, even to young children, and help the families. So lots of things. And we talked about what are the limitations? There's lots of good things that go on for very young children at the library, but is access an issue? Can they not get there? How do we get those books, those early literacy materials in the hands of families? Maybe we have to go to them. So it's thinking about those kinds of things and putting the resources to work in that way.
A bookmobile.
Exactly. Yeah.
So right now we do the kindergarten lottery, right? Isn't it a lottery right now?
Not to be full time for
It's
everyone.
full time? Okay. I couldn't
Preschool
remember
is-
if they start.
preschool
Oh, it's the
lottery.
preschool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not even full time.
No, it's not. Isn't it like an
We're-
alteration
We're
of?
working on that. I think that would be a goal.
Yeah.
Is to
'Cause I'm-
really kind of expand and get consistent, because we know that the more time that we have them, the better off they're going to be. So
And I think that there's huge wait lists around here anyway for any type of preschool.
So even if they did half day in school and had to go somewhere else, if they can't find somewhere else to go to, that would take them half day. It would.
Sure.
It's a lot more difficult
Yep.
to do that. And they might
Especially if
just
people
opt
work
out.
full time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think that's great.
Excellent.
The more the merrier.
all right, so just send us all your good thoughts, and we will let you all know as soon as we know. We're waiting for the word. So
Okay.
just wanted to let you know that on March 14th we did hold a very significant professional learning. That was voting day, as you know, and shout out to Seabrook, because they did a nice job of registering folks, especially Seabrook Elementary. And Principal Belanger came as well, and we had a whole morning dedicated to the behavioral and mental health of our students. The highlight, I believe, from that session, we had folks from Seacoast Mental Health, we had folks from DCYF there, and the highlight really was the last half hour where we had a group of Winnicott High School students who came in on their day off and who sat on a panel and really shared their responses to some prompts that our Director of Counseling Services gave to them just around their own experiences around stressors and just juggling everything that they need to juggle and how they make it through, and what we could do to kind of support them and help them. And it came down to listening to them. I do believe this was the highlight of the entire morning, but what it came down to was one word. It's all about relationships. Relationships with our staff and our kiddos, relationships with each other, peer to peer, relationships with their families. They want to be heard, they want to be understood, and they need for us to understand that their plate is really full, and they are juggling a lot of different responsibilities. And I'm sure this is true for our middle schoolers and maybe even our elementary kids. But the demands of extracurricular and homework, we heard a lot about homework, and having more flexibility, allowing more grace for our kids. We heard that loud and clear. So it was a very impactful morning. Lots of our districts had other PD already planned for that day. This was something that grew out of a conversation here at Seabrook in terms of we need to do more for our staff around this issue. And so we'd like to do it again maybe in the fall and expand it further, but it was very impactful. On April 5th, continuing along with that message, we will welcome all of our staff from across the SAU to hear author and educator Brian Medler. I told you about Brian earlier in the year. You remember that we had planned this for our SEL activity for April, and here it is almost here. Brian wrote a book that was focused on changing lives one student at a time, and his credibility comes from his own experience as a student with disabilities, particularly around emotional and behavioral challenges, and then eventually his experience as a special educator and what that was like, and serving and helping students who had considerable emotional and behavioral challenges. He's very dynamic. He has some great takeaways and strategies, and we're hoping that this just opens a conversation for us to think more comprehensively about behavior and discipline in general, and kind of focusing on it in different ways where we can be proactive and not wait for something to happen before we intervene, but to provide the supports ahead of time so that then those things don't happen and our kids feel heard and are doing well. So that's happening in April. And finally, in the end of January, the joint board did approve our suicide prevention plan as required by our policy. There was a start of one back in 2019, and so we went ahead and put a group together and finished it and did a presentation to the joint board in January, and they approved it. So there's a copy linked for you. We shared it out on March 14th with everybody who was there, and we did a brief presentation about that. Every school has a liaison in case there is any ideation about these topics or kids who are feeling, challenged in this way. And we do have our Seacoast care team that meets regularly and takes referrals anytime that there's a student who anyone feels at risk. And this is a good time to just mention that all of our websites, including the SAU website and on the individual school websites, do have a link, nice and available as soon as you go on the website. See something, say something, anonymous tips, anytime that you may know someone who may be at risk or you yourself feeling somewhat badly about anything. Just throw that in there and we'll get a referral and we'll get support to the individual.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Brian, at the elementary school report.
I just wanted to say thanks to Dr. Chumi. I think when I got the email about the preschool grant, I almost had a heart attack, and my response to her probably should have said that, but we were able to put that together really quickly, and she really did a great job. So really, cross my fingers. I think I texted her from Monday. Can we get next week? So that would be really great for her. February short month, but we did have some stuff that carried over from February. We had our maple sugaring event. Our students in 3rd and 4th grade tapped the trees, and we've got all kinds of maple syrup in my office right now, overflowing. So the plan right now is to do a kickoff for assessments. So when our 3rd and 4th graders have their state testing, we'll have a catered breakfast, and we'll use the maple syrup.
Oh, awesome.
To kind of highlight the kickoff there. So we're working through that right now. So thanks to Chris and Stacy Small for doing that. Our student exhibition night partner with middle school was awesome again. I hope we can continue to do that every year and continue to bring families out. We find that it's much more valuable than necessarily a parent conference or an open house because students are showing their own work and what they're proud of and seeing all aspects of the school. We had Kindness Week. We had 2 Spirit Weeks back to back. We had our Reading Week and then we had Kindness Week after vacation. And students had a blast with that. Lots of pictures on our website. Girls on the Run is back. Today's the first day for Girls on the Run with our coach, Christine Kaiser, and there's Sarah. I think it's an amazing program for girls to build self-esteem, and I'm really, really glad that it's here. All the parents' report cards are live. We have a very poor showing of parents clicking on the report cards online, with less than 50% of parents that open it, so we're actually mailing report cards, going back to old school. We met as a team. Our hope is to not get back to online and have people accessing it online because it's expensive to mail these report cards home and it's a lot of paper. However, if over 50% of parents are showing us that it's not accessible to them, then what we're going to do is back up and say, let's make it accessible and give you the information about your students. Our teachers are spending so much time on those report cards, and if nobody's opening them, then they're not finding out what their students are going for their exam. So look out for that in the mail in the next week or so. And then there's some pictures from our reading day. Our literacy team, Title I team, put together a reading activity for our community day. And we teamed up every grade level, read to a different grade level. And the last thing, which is super exciting, our new playground slide is here. So our big yellow slide, for those of you who don't know, the big yellow slide had a crack in the bottom that was catching people on the way out, which is not good for Nurse Sarah. So we did some research because slides that are that high are not necessarily safe, so we actually had to find a spiral slide.
Oh, cool.
So the new one will be out there yellow. It goes yellow, clear, so you can see the flash. So that's kindergarten and preschool registration are open. Tell your friends. The earlier we know about it, the better off we'll be.
And just for clarification, if you are currently enrolled in preschool, you do not need to register for kindergarten?
So if you're currently enrolled, you'll automatically be pushed in the next, we'll do the screening here on campus, and that'll happen automatically.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, thanks, Brian. And Jamie, middle
Thank
school.
you. I wanted to just start with really echoing what our staff members said in expressing our gratitude for the community support recently on voting day. It was a great turnout, and we're really excited now as a staff in a building to be able to provide our students with the best possible experience. So just wanted to express that gratitude to the Seabrook community. Also want to echo what Brian said. Had another great exhibition night. A lot of fun, over 200 pizzas we gave away. One thing I'll add, I just wanted to thank Jen Thomas and the Water Street Bookstore once again in Exeter for organizing a book donation. We had many of our students and families were able to go home with multiple free books, which is a great service. Unfortunately, I was a little too late and wasn't able to get one, but that's okay. And also thanks to Mr. Constant and Mr. Bombardier, who were also there doing their presentation and handing out that really slick QR code for Portrait of a Learner. So I thought that was really cool to try and get that information out there. One teacher explained to me she was really excited before the event that this was her favorite night of the year, these exhibition nights, to come to work. She just really loved it, was really excited. So that made my heart feel good. I added a picture of my favorite part of the exhibition night, which was the maple sugar stuff, which I thought was really cool. They had that spectrum of like colors in the little glass bottles, which was really neat. It was a nice interactive display. So also thanks to those folks. It was the small, right? That was a great feature. And I'm new to New Hampshire, so that whole thing was like kind of a new experience for me. So it was very cool. Also wanted to thank Casa Tequila for their generous donation recently to our 6th graders during their they had a fiesta, which was a culminating activity as part of their Mesoamerican unit, and it was really spectacular. The pod was filled with all kinds of food, and the kids were being served, and kids were dressed up, so it was a really nice way to culminate that Mesoamerican unit for them. So thanks again to Casa Tequila for the generous donation. This month, in March, we are happy to announce that we have an artist in residence, Kim Salat, sorry if I mispronounced that. She'll be teaching all students in grades 5 through 8 the art of Zentangle. And during the residency, students will learn how to Zentangle, and we'll be collaborating on and creating a permanent art piece to be displayed in the local community, and then we'll find a permanent home here in our building, which I think is so cool that we'll be able to do that. The art piece will have an ocean theme and will represent all students in the middle school. Each student will finish their artist in residence with their own small kit of Zentangle materials. There'll also be an after-school session for teachers to learn how to Zentangle. The art of Zentangle can be a tool that's added to the wellness toolbox for all students and staff. So we're really excited for that. The geography bee is back after a delay due to COVID, tentatively scheduled for April 20th. More details soon to follow. Again, to echo what Brian said, T2 grades are out, report cards are live. We are also sending the hard copies home. We are also excited to announce this year that the 8th grade graduation will be held on June 15th at 6 p.m. here at SMS outside. We're planning on a setting where we'll set up some large tents. We're anticipating being able to provide dinner and some music, and hopefully we'll have a guest speaker. So that's a little bit of a change, but this was in response to student feedback. They really wanted to have it here as like kind of a send-off event for them. They really wanted to have it outside. So I think it'll be a great way for us to honor our outgoing 8th grade students. So we're excited for that. Also wanted to highlight a recent training that SAU staff participated in, including Seabrook SMS and SES. It was hosted by the Suffolk University for the Center for Restorative Practices, and I think I had sent an invite out to the school board also for this 2-day event where staff were trained in running community circles that they can then bring back to their classroom as a way to build community. We're hopeful that we'll be able to continue to offer this training over the course of the next 2 years so that we can have our staff fully trained in the implementation of community circles and restorative practices. It's a way that we hope will be able to not only build community in the classroom, but dramatically reduce our incidence of discipline and conduct violations, because the focus is on building relationships and repairing any damage that's been done in the classroom. So it's a proactive strategy. There was a lot of really good positive feedback. Our staff participated in a series or bunch of community circles during our last staff meeting. So we're really excited about that. And then lastly, recently, Dr. Toomey had mentioned the professional day. During that day, folks that were not involved in the morning activities engaged in some vertical planning, which is always a luxury for teachers, so that they could focus on working with their colleagues from different grade levels to plan together in areas of curriculum instruction and curriculum development. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. So I do know that for the last couple of years, they've been pushing for the 8th grade graduation of the year, so that's
Great.
excellent, because
People
I
are
know
happy
that
doing
there was they couldn't get it to happen, so thank you. There'll be a lot of people that are excited about that.
Yeah, the kids are psyched.
Hopefully you can get a lot more community involvement that are not involved directly with 8th grade to be able to come too, because I feel like with those type of things, similar to exhibition night, it's like if you can support the kids here by being here in Seabrook, I feel like you could get even more interaction from community members.
Sure.
That
We're
are
gonna have a
involved.
big party. So
That'd be
we'll
great. That's awesome.
Ask everybody to be involved.
That's great. Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah.
Cornhole tournament, yes. Let's do it.
That was really.
The first one was great though, right? I mean, I heard it was really.
It was.
Joe won.
We raised over $5,000.
That's
Yes.
amazing. That is
It's
so
awesome.
good. And the spaghetti dinner was amazing too. You guys did a great job. I love the kids like walking around and
We have
serving.
wonderful parents who have really taken the lead on a lot.
That is awesome. That's so great to hear. Now for the party. Finance with Matt.
I got excited for a minute there.
Sorry, wrong party.
Sorry, Matt.
So I have included 2 reports on board docs, the fiscal year 2023 expenditure report and the revenue report. For the expenditure report, we currently have a balance of approximately $40,000, and that's with just over 3 months remaining in the fiscal year. I will note the attached expenditure report that's included in board docs actually shows only $27,000 available. However, there's an extra encumbrance in our heating fuels account, so that will that specific account will increase once that's resolved. But it's also offset by an EA payment that the board had approved that will be paid out in June. That's also not encumbered. So between those 2 adjustments, we're at $40,000. But considering that we're over budget in special education by $385,000, and we're operating in a default budget, I'm actually very pleased with where we stand and what our current balance is at. That being said, we do have 3 months remaining in the school year, or the fiscal year rather. So any additional expenditures that are not encumbered will further reduce that balance. So we do have a buffer, and that's on the revenue side. So if you look at the revenue report, we have a surplus of approximately $145,000, and that's due to excess banking interest due to the rate increases, some additional special education aid, and the New Hampshire retirement system refund that we received. So while I'm confident in our financial standing for this current fiscal year, particularly with that revenue surplus, we will be taking some extra care with spending for these last 3 months. So we will only be expending funds that are really essential needs only. so if there are any kind of discretionary areas where we'll take a hard look at those costs. Now, should we have any additional unanticipated costs, we also have the special education expendable trust at our disposal. So that's available since we are over budget by, like I said, $385,000 in special education, and that does have a balance of $310,000. So there is, we do have that safeguard should there be any other unanticipated costs. So, speaking of unanticipated costs, unfortunately, one of our boilers failed this winter. We did work with our plumbing contractor to determine potential repairs or whether there needs to be a replacement. Unfortunately, the repairs would be essentially the same cost as a replacement. So we do need to replace this boiler. We were fortunate to have made it through this winter on our redundant boiler. So it's a redundant system. However, it will need to be replaced prior to next winter season. So we will be issuing an RFP to go out to bid for that replacement boiler, and this will be funded via the Building Maintenance Expendable Trust. So again, we have these trusts in place for exactly this reason, to safeguard us against these unforeseen events. That's it. We're estimating a cost of roughly $60,000 for a replacement boiler. Our current balance in the expendable trust is $176,000. So that being said, any remaining balance that we have unspent in the operating budget and combined with that surplus revenue will be returned to the town to offset property tax assessment. So in the next couple meetings, I will update you on the progress with the boiler and other costs as we finish up the fiscal year, and whether we need to tap into that special education trust, which at this point I don't foresee needing. We will need a public hearing for the Building Maintenance Expendable Trust when we get to that point. So finally, on a positive note, I do want to thank all of the Seabrook community members who supported the school and the teachers' contracts at the election last Tuesday. As you know, as it's been announced, the Seabrook operating budget warrant article did pass, as well as the CBA warrant article. However, being the very conservative person I am, I do want to note that the Southampton election was postponed until March 28th. So the CBA is not officially approved until, or unless Southampton passes it next Tuesday at ballot for the CBA to take effect in all of our SAU 21 towns. So, be happy to answer any questions.
Go Southampton.
Yeah. I think it's been a great show of support, though. I mean, to know that everyone so far has voted the way that they should have voted. Without saying you need to vote that way, I'm glad that they did vote that way. But I think it was great too to see Seabrook push through the budget too, which I think was, huge. Yeah. To know that it failed last year, but because of all the positive stuff that you guys put out there and the union and all the things, I think that helped everyone just to have a good handle on what really went into it and what it means if it doesn't pass. So I think that's great. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you. Yeah, I will say I think it's really a testament to the great work that Brian and Jamie are doing with their teams, our amazing teachers, and with the support of our school board. So thank you to everyone.
Facilities report. Matt, do you wanna?
Yeah, so I gave the bad news on the boiler. Additionally, on the facilities report, you'll see there's the basic maintenance, door handles being replaced, bless you, faucets being installed, repairs being made on baseboards, desks being assembled, and then our monthly inspections that we're required to perform.
So policies second read and adoption.
Yes, before we start that, public comment, our 30 minutes is up. Do you want to?
We will officially close public comment unless the PTO request. So that would be
That's not public comment, that's on the agenda.
that's on the agenda in 1 second. It's almost there. So we'll close public comment at 5:18 p.m.
So we have 33 policies on the agenda. 14 of them are being withdrawn, and the other 19 are really essentially just renewals. Policy committee reviewed, they were first read for your last meeting. I have not received any comments or questions since the last meeting. Happy to take any now.
So can we want to do a motion to approve?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Make a motion to approve the adoption and withdrawal as recommended for the 33 policies as presented.
I'll second. I'll second. All in favor? Sorry. Still learning.
We'll make you a little cheat sheet.
I know you're just looking at me. I was like,
I got you back, Jack.
something's happening.
So everybody was in,
Yes, all in favor.
and that vote recorded, motion passed unanimous.
PTO request. Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel Turcott. I am the accountant for the Seabrook PTO. I'm here for two things. One is to ask the board for a PTO key card to the school. We know we're in there quite a bit. When we set up stuff at night for teachers or whatever we're doing, it would be helpful if we had a card to get in. I know other entities have cards as well, so we thought hopefully we could get one. It would be shared between two people, the president, Heather Emerson, and myself, as are the ones that typically do all the setting up for events. And the second would be, which I already believe was like approved, to continue looking into donating a permanent basketball court. This is just one, vendor that we looked at just to see if it was within reason for us to be able to afford to do it. I'm asking that we can be able to continue looking into this before we put all this effort into finding the base for it and getting some real quotes and that sort of thing. We are hoping that the court can be used for volleyball, tennis, and pickleball as well. So that's just one of the.
Where would it be?
Yeah.
That would be
That's
my
still something that we're working on.
Okay.
We did kind of look through it.
So Jamie and I received a request from the PTO. We did a walk through with Heather Emerson, president, and Peter Mora, to make sure that we had a spot, and Matt joined us. We kind of walk around the lot to make sure that there was a place, but also that it was part of a much bigger plan. And so as we looked through the back courtyard area, I think Jamie and I have a vision that we're sharing, that courtyard area starts to become a green space, and there starts to be some intentional decisions made about the courtyard, so that it's more student friendly. Green space, there's grass, there's not a big area of pavement that we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to repave. We'd much rather have our kids running around playing on grass, and so this would be part of a much larger conversation that Jamie and I like to do through the budget process and through the facilities planning, to really think about how we're using our facilities as a whole and how we're incorporating outdoor green space into our classrooms and into our school. So we're fortunate that we have some folks that also drive buses that share us some ideas, and so this this, after talking with Peter, there would be, initially, if the PTO paid for the entire, the pad, and then after 16 years, there would need to be some upkeep for it, 16-year warranty, if we went with that vendor. So, the initial response from us is that we would love this, if we could find a way to use it, it would fall under our facilities use policy, just like the ice skating rink. We talk about lights and about lighting, and we just talk about if we actually want people here at night versus not at night, and so those are decisions that we can make down the road, but PTO is really just looking for a green light to proceed with getting quotes and moving forward.
And then they would bring it to forward.
Yes, we would bring it forward
for
with all of
presented.
what we have, all the information that we have, so you guys know everything about it. And hopefully it can be used for extending sports programs or, preparing for sports.
I think it's pretty amazing that we have an awesome PTO that's willing to do something like this, because what an awesome thing that the kids would love to use, and parents and other members. So,
Do we need a motion to allow them to look into this, or just like
can we
You
just,
need a formal
a
motion, but you
general?
can give consensus
Yeah.
to
is
consensus.
everybody on
Yeah.
board with
Definitely.
moving forward and?
And then the first one.
Oh.
Circle back.
So I don't know if Matt wants to address, I mean, typically that would go through a process. He's asking about the key card. Typically that would go through a process with our facilities director and administrators to work out access. Typically we don't allow access to the building except when custodial staff is present. So we'd have to work out cutting enough access under those parameters.
So
That's a liability issue for us with our insurance carrier.
So with the key cards, do custodians set up, like when they come in and when they leave, do things like locked down? Could it potentially be that they could only get in and get out when
When
the
the building is staffed, that's how it's true for all of our employees as well. The building is secured outside of those hours.
So that would be what you would be asking for, right?
Yeah, it's only during, so our meetings run, we start at like 5:30, so we're asking that it be available to use until 5:30, and it can be like, I know that they get turned off or something happens, you can't get in after a certain time or on weekends. So we're just asking that it's work up until 5:30 or 6 o'clock. Monday through Friday, we did go through this with Keith, Officer Keith. Yeah, and did the forms and stuff with him to see what the process was.
So when I saw this on the agenda, I had gone through some meeting minutes, because I do remember right before COVID, and it was like the first meeting, and I went through all the minutes because it was the first meeting that I was put on the board, and it was right before COVID
March
hit.
of 2020.
Yeah, it was that first meeting, and I know that the other superintendent had approved it. I cannot find the minute anywhere, but they did approve it because,
They also approved a landline, but that's that, we don't need.
I don't remember the landline, but I do remember the key cards,
You don't
because it
want
was only gonna be 2 of them, and it was for, they would have to sign a form or whatever, be responsible for them. But I do remember it was approved, and I went through all the minutes, and I couldn't find it anywhere.
Because you also have set up for like the dances and the, those things
Ice cream
that,
socials.
the ice cream socials. So for any time, if not, you'd have to page SAS to let you in, or
Yes.
something else.
Yeah.
That,
Or text Brian
Or
at
hopefully
like
text
9
Brian.
o'clock at night, cause
Catch
something's left
someone,
there.
catch someone
I had to do
leaving
that.
at 6,
Okay.
we've been doing,
Okay.
so
I don't have any concerns. I mean, I think,
I don't have any concerns with it. I don't know if is that something we?
is this
Because I
really
think-
our
I don't
purview?
necessarily have to be a board decision.
Right.
In my experience, isn't necessarily a board decision, it would be
Yeah.
administered through our facilities office and with our administration to work
Okay.
out parameters
So we
and.
support it if you can work it out and everybody feels comfortable with it, and that's
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys. I'll bring back everything that we have for the court once we get that kind of sorted and underway.
thank you
Right.
again.
thank you,
We
Rachel.
appreciate everything you guys do. Okay, summer planning update.
So we've begun the summer planning process. And Lauren is, I don't know,
Yeah, go ahead.
so we had an initial meeting this last week with SAS, and I also met with the REC, trying to decide how we don't step on each other's toes in the summer. Because we all have a really great goal of making sure that our students are engaged in healthy activities, moving their bodies and growing their minds. So Lauren and I met first, and we're going to look for middle school looped into all of this because Lauren actually oversees the entire summer program. And so working together, our goal this year is to not only have the robust summer school program we have last year, which Lauren kind of went through that. We also have some added support that we're looking to partner with the REC and SAS to do more enrichment type activities. And this year, the elementary school is actually awarded a $20,000 enrichment grant for summer work. So we'll be hosting a number of camps, teacher-driven student interest camps that will last for 1 week. Some possible topics right now, we have a presentation for our rocket camp with Mr. Small. We have working right now in conversation with a local surf shop about having a surf ocean camp.
That would be amazing.
Well, these are so limited. So part of this will be that as an initial grant, the startup grant, there'll be limited numbers of students that can participate. So we'll have to figure out the entrance criteria because they're between 12 and 15 students per camp. We also have a literacy nature camp, Miss Social Mentally, and then Miss Avanti and Miss Youth were also interested in doing some sort of outdoor nature hiking type experience. So all of them will be partnered with academics that have at the end of the presentation, they'll have to come up with an enrichment activity for parents and kind of show people what they've learned. So we found out about that grant about a week ago.
And you already got it?
We got it.
So you found out about it, submitted it, and then already got it in the last 2 weeks?
Yes.
This is a state funding pool that was available. They're providing a limited number of awards based on applications, so.
Wonderful. You guys are doing an awesome job
Faster
getting.
than fire department. It's a quick turnaround.
That's great. You're like,
But on
here's
top
my
of-
ideas. Give me the money. Thank you.
On top of this, last year Lauren ran one of the most robust summer school programs I've ever seen. So I don't know if you want to talk about the kind of plan.
Yeah, so, it's fine. So this year's summer school will be, the same as last year's summer school in terms of the days. So it's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning for 4 weeks, 3 weeks in July, and then a week in August, first week in August. So it's open to all families, elementary and middle. We already have lots of staff members willing to come back again and some additional ones. We have plenty of staffing. We'll be sending out a flyer that just kind of gets that initial signing up for families. But again, it's a great opportunity for kids to come and get a combination of enrichment, academics, socialization, moving our bodies, doing art, reading, having guests come in. We have the library coming back again this summer. We also have a musician coming in for the summer to work with the early literacy K through 2. We just met with her today, really excited about that. We have the art teacher coming back again for the summer. So we have a really great program ready for kids and families. So be on lookout for the flyer. Spread the word.
Thank you very much. Very excited. Anything else for summer planning? You guys are good? I love all the ideas. I think that's great. So personnel we'll talk about in non-public.
Correct.
So future meetings, we have a joint board meeting next Tuesday, the 28th at 6 p.m. We have a joint board policy committee meeting Monday, April 10th. And then our next school board meeting is Tuesday, April 11th. And then roll call to need a motion to enter non-public under 91A3 2.
I'll make that motion.
A and C. And then is it all in favor or do you have to call?
This is a roll call.
Jennifer Hubbard,
Yes.
Kelly Huber,
Yes.
Christina Kaiser,
Yes.
and Patrick Dodd.
Yes.
You are now in non-public session at 5:32